Hello friends, this is my new Codeigniter series video. In this video we are going to learn some advanced concept of Codeigniter. In this video we will discuss how to insert data into Mysql database table and Codeigniter framework. In previous video of Codeigniter tutorial we have shown some basic introduction about Codeigniter framework. What is model view controller in Codeigniter framework and how to remove index.php file from URL. This all things we have discussed in my previous Codeigniter framework. Now in this video we will learn how can we insert data into Mysql database table by using Codeigniter framework. All you know, Codeigniter framework is purely based on model view controller workflow. For example, here we want to insert data into database table, so user will fill up the form which we have defined under view file. When user will submit the form, the request is sent to controllers, then controllers will send this request to models, and then lastly models will insert data into database. So this framework is purely based on models views controllers workflow. Now let's us learn how to insert data into Mysql database table. So for this this is my testing database, and here we have one table user with 3 columns like id, first name and last name. We will insert data into this table by using Codeigniter framework. This is my Codeigniter folder structure. In folder structure we will mainly use controllers, models and views folder. We have already create main controller in controllers folder. In models we have already create main models, and in views we have already created main view.php. First we have go to views folder, and in this folder we have one views file which is main view.php. We will make form under this page. First we have defined Bootstrap CSS framework. So have put this CDN link which we have get from get Bootstrap site and put here. This way we have include Bootstrap CSS framework on this page. Then after we have defined HTML form, so for this we have write open form tag with attributes method is equal to form and action is equal to open and close PHP tag, and between tag we have write echo base URL function. Then after we have write main which is controller's name, and then after we have write /form validation. This way we have defined HTML form for submit data. Here we have write action is equal to base URL function. This function will return base URL of our Codeigniter application which we have defined under config folders config.php file which is localhost/tutorial/Codeigniter folder name. Base URL function will return this URL, and then after main is the controller name and form validation is the function which we will create under main controllers. Then under this form we want to create text box for insert first name, so for this we have write input type is equal to text with attributes name is equal to first name and class attributes is equal to form control. Here form control is a Bootstrap framework class. After this we want to define text box for insert last name form data. So for this we have write input type is equal to text with attributes like name is equal to last name and class name is equal to form control. In form lastly we want to define submit button for submit form data. So for this we have write input type is equal to submit with attributes name is equal to insert, value is equal to insert, and class name is equal to button and button info which is class name of Bootstrap CSS framework. When user click on this button then form data will be sent to server by using post method. Now we want to check out what of this main view.php file in browser. So for this first we have to go to controllers folder, and in this we have one controllers which is main controllers. In this we want to load main view and index function. This is because in Codeigniter by default controllers will load index function. So for this in this function we have load view. For loading view we have write $this object operator with load method with object operator with view open and close bracket, and between bracket we have write view file name which is main view. So this main controllers will load the content of main view file, so we have go browser and check output in browser. Here we have received error message like call to undefined function base URL, so for this we have go to config folder of Codeigniter, and in this we have open config.php file, and in this we want to load URL helper, so for this we can show this autoload array with helper key is equal to URL. This will load URL helper into our Codeigniter application. Now save this code and show output in browser. Friends, here we can show the HTML form with two text box for first name and last name, and when we have click on submit button we have received page not found error. This is because we have not create form validation function in our main controller. So for this we have go to main controller, and in this we have write public function with name form validation function, and in this function we have write echo statement with OK and save this code and check in browser. Now we can show the OK text on web page. That means our form validation function is working. We will write insert code into this form validation function. Now we have go to main controller, and in this controller we have write PHP code under form validation function. In this function first we want to write some validation code before insert data into database. Codeigniter has its own form validation libraries. So first we wanted to form validation library of Codeigniter. So for this we have write $this with object operator with load method with object operator with library function with open and close bracket, and between bracket we have write library name which is form validation. This code will load form validation library Codeigniter into this form validation function. This Codeigniter form validation library have many validation rules. Here we can see that on Codeigniter framework official site, here we can show required rule return false if form element is empty. Same way in our case we want to first and last name in alphabetic, so we can use this alpha rule we can use. It will returns false if the form elements contains anything other than alphabetic character. You can refer validation rule from this page. Now we have show how to use this form validation libraries rule, so for this we have write $this with object operator with library name which is form validation with object operator with set rules function with 3 argument. In first argument we can write text box name which is first name, in second argument we can write first name which is human name for this field which will be inserted into error message, and in last argument we can write validation rule. Here we want to use required rules. Here required rules will return false if first name text box element is empty. This way we can set the form validation rules for first name text box. Here we can use more than one rules for singles HTML element by putting pipe sign. Suppose here we want to output other rules like alpha, so for this we have write pipe sign and write alpha rules. This will return false if the first name text box contains anything other than alphabetical characters. This way we can assign more than one form validation libraries rules to single HTML element. Now we want to apply same rules to last name text box, so we have copied this code and pasted it and changed name from first name to last name. So above rule apply to this last name text box also. Now we want to write code for insert data if both text box pass the form validation library rules, so for this we have write if statement with condition like $this tagged with object operator with form validation library name with object operator with run method. This condition will check if this run method return true if it has successfully applied your rules without any of them failing, otherwise it return false. Suppose run method return true, that means it successfully applied rules and it will execute if block of code, and in this block of code first we want to load main model here, so for this first we have write $this with object operator with load method with object operator with mode with open and close bracket and between bracket we want to write model name which is main model. This code will load main model into this if block of code. Before proceed for data insert code, we want to print error message on web page, so for this we have go to main view.php page, so for print error message below first name text box, so for this we have write open and close PHP tag and between tag we have write echo statement with form error function with one argument which is text box name first name. This will print error message which form validation rule not follow. Same way for print error message below last name text box, so for this we have write open and close PHP tag and between tag we have write echo statement with form error function with one argument like text box name which is last name. This will print error message. Now we have saved this code and check output in browser. Friends, you can see that fatal error like call to undefined function form error on web page, so for this we want to load form helper for use form error function, so for this we have go to config folders autoload.php file and in this file we have define form under autoload helper. This will load form helper into our Codeigniter application. Now we have saved this code and check output in browser. Friends, we cannot show any fatal error on web page. But suppose form validation libraries run function return false, then it will execute else block of code. In this block we want to load HTML form page, so for this we have write $this with index function of this main controller. So this will call index function of this main controller and display form with display validation error. Now when we have directly click on submit button URL redirect to form validation function and it produce error message like first name and last name fields are required. That means our form validation code is working by using form validation libraries. Now we have go to main models for writing function for insert data to MySQL server. Before we have write any function into models for insert data, first we have to load database libraries into our Codeigniter application. So for load database libraries we have to go autoload.php file and in this file we have to go to autoload array with key libraries and here we can add libraries name which is database. This will load database libraries into our Codeigniter application when it will load. After loading database libraries into our Codeigniter application, then after we have to make database connection. For making database connection into our application, we have to go to config folder and in that folder we have to go to database.php page and in that page we have to define database setting credentials like host name set to localhost, username set to root, password set to blank and database set to testing. Here you can define MySQL driver. In this Codeigniter framework we have used Mysql driver of MySQL server. This way we can make database connection with our Codeigniter application. Save this code and go to main models file. Now we have com models which is main models and in this models we have defined function insert data with one argument which is $data. This way we can make function with argument and models. In this we want to write code for insert data. Here we can use query builder class of Codeigniter. This class will produce MySQL query. Here want to write insert query by using this query builder class. So for this we have write $this with object operator with DB, which is object of database libraries, with object operator insert function with 2 argument. In first argument we have to write table name in which we want to insert data. Here we want to insert into table user. So here we have write table user, and in second argument we have write array of data with column name and its value, which we have get from $data of this function argument. This will produce insert query like this, and it will execute this insert query and insert data into table user table. This way we can use query builder class of Codeigniter framework for insert data into table user. Now we have go to main controllers, and in this we have go to form validation function in which we have load main model. After this we have write one variable $data is equal to array open and close bracket, and between bracket we have write table column name first name as key with value $this with input class object input with post method with first name, which is name of text box of first name. This way we can store first name text box value into this keys. Then after we have add other last name table column name as keys with its value $this with input class object input with post method with last name, which is the name of text box with name last name, and it will store value of last name text box into this keys. This way we have store all form text box data into this $data variable in associative array format. Now we want to call main model insert data function for insert data into user table. So for this we have write $this with model name, which is main model with insert data function with one argument like $data. Insert data function we have defined under main model and in $data, in which we have store form text box data in associative array format. This code will call main model's insert data function for inserting form data into user table. If suppose data successfully inserted into database, then after we want to redirect our page to HTML form page, so for this we have use redirect function of URL helper of Codeigniter framework. This will redirect page to specified URL. So for this we have write redirect function with one argument, which is URL like base URL function, which return our application base URL like localhost/tutorial/Codeigniter folder name. Then after we have add controller name, which is main/inserted function of controllers. This will redirect page to this URL. After data successfully inserted, then page redirect to main controller's inserted function, so we have to define inserted function, so we have write public function with name inserted. This way we have defined new function with name inserted into this main controller. When this function will called, we want to display HTML form with message like data inserted, so for this here we will again call index function of this main controller. So for this we have write $this with index function. This will call index function of this controller, and it will display HTML form for insert data. Now we have go to main view page for display data inserted message. This message will be displayed when this page was loaded by main controller inserted function, not display when it load by index function. So for we have to check in URL, is there inserted function found in URL? So for this we have write if statement with condition like $this with array class object array with segment function 2 is equal to inserted. In this code we have use array class of Codeigniter framework. This class provides function that help you retrieve information from your array strings. By using this class we can get the URL string after base URL. Here our base URL is localhost/tutorial/Codeigniter folder. This function return URL string after this base URL. After this URL we can get main controller name in first segment, and in second segment we can get inserted function name in second segment, which we have defined inserted. So if this condition true, then it will produce if block of code. In this block we can define data inserted message, so for this we have write echo statement with message like data inserted. This we display on web page, if this page has been loaded by inserted function of main controller. This way we can display data inserted message on web page. Now our code is ready for insert data into MySQL database and Codeigniter framework, so we have saved this code on checkout output in browser. Friends, first we have direct click on insert button without insert any value into text box, then it will display error like fields are required. Now we have insert data properly and click on insert button, then it displayed data inserted message on web page. Now we have show in table, is there data inserted into table also? Friends, you can see that one is available which we have inserted from HTML form. That means our code is ready for inserting data into database in Codeigniter framework. So friends, in this video we have shown how to create HTML form in Vue and display that HTML form on browser by using controller. Then after we have shown how to use form validation libraries of this Codeigniter framework and how to apply validation rule of this libraries to HTML element and how to display validation error on HTML form. Then after we have shown how make database connection into this Codeigniter framework, and then after we have make insert data function in models and called that models function into controllers, and then after data will insert it into database. So this way in Codeigniter framework, first it received request for data inserting request from Vue, and this Vue send request to controllers. Then controllers send data to models and models insert data into database, then it again send to controller and controller again load views. So this is the complete MVC workflow of this insert data into database in Codeigniter framework. If you like this video tutorial, please share this video tutorial with your friends, or even you can also share on social media also. Friends, you want to get more update of my video. So, friends, you can subscribe my YouTube channel. Friends, you can also like my Facebook page also, or you can also follow Webs Listen on Twitter.